Warhawk Authority Podcast continues as this week we take a look ahead at our spring sports getting ready to start up, and we go baseball first. And first year head coach Ford Pemberton getting set to go here with the Warhawks. And as we record this, as this is released, actually, we are a month out from the opener. Central Arkansas coming to the Lou on February 13th as the Warhawks open the season. And I say that, coach, I mean, crazy to think I think it's 31 days out officially at this point because of the extra day in January, but it's almost here. Just how hard is that to believe, and how ready is this bunch to get to that date?
Yeah, well, and it goes by quick, especially when you've been, I feel like we've been efficient and effective in what we've been doing. I'm really happy in terms of where we are physically getting back from the break. Yesterday, the first day of practice, I thought we were our whole focus this week is to get us back to game speed. And yesterday, the way the guys were moving and their physicality and filling out their uniform, I was really pleased with it. So I could tell that, there's some structure over the break and guys, were across the country back home really working. So they showed up, really proud of them in that aspect. But, we really don't get caught up in looking or counting down the days. We just have to, stack the good days at practice and stay process oriented. And I like where we are. And so we'll be on the field again today, right after lunch, going at it. And again, working to get back to game speed.
Hmm.
But in terms of how we looked and how we were moving, I thought the coaches were great yesterday as far as being organized, and they're, just presenting and teaching to the players is a really good first day back.
You've gone through a fall with these guys too. Like you said, they took care of themselves away from the team, away from the facility and all that. Go back to the fall. Just how do you feel like this team picked things up on how you want to do things, how this is going to look? How did the fall transpire for you?
Coach Schatzberger made a comment. He's like, "Look, this is going to be your toughest fall." He's been a
Mhm.
head coach before, which is one of what he brings to the table, being on this coaching staff. And he goes, "This is going to be your toughest fall, just because you're not instilling what you want to do in between the lines. It's everything. The way we're going to go about um, walking into the building, or how we want the clubhouse to look, how we treat the weight room, and how sacred that is." And so, it's a melting pot of a team. It's freshmen, it's junior college transfers, it's 1 year returners, it's 3 year returners. Those guys are different players to me. It's portal guys. It was a melting pot that we had to get on the same page. And so I think back to one day we were, installing our base running system, and I just, it was going a little bit slower than anticipated. But I had to catch myself. There's not one returner out here with me. I don't have a player to lean on to kind of talk to the other guys. And so as we got going, I thought the guys were learning quickly, and then it just became the application of our process. And so it was a different fall. And when you look ahead, which we don't do a lot, but next fall will be a little bit different in the fact that the returners can help speed up that learning process. But it was fine. I commend our guys. The melting pot of the team that it is, they got on the same page quickly. And then I start hearing our players using our terminology, stacking good days together, getting in really routine oriented. And then when there's a kink in the routine, being able to adapt quickly. So proud of them in that fact. We have some veterans in the clubhouse, some guys that have been here, some guys that really care about ULM. And so in that regard, everything was good. But getting everyone on the same page, yes, it was 2 or 3 weeks in, and then it kind of got smooth sailing. We had to learn this team as well on how they
Mhm.
learn. Like, we're doing group work and skill instruction. And as we got going into our practice window, this team responded really well to playing game fast, game like situations, controlled scrimmages and L screen games and machine games. And so, I commend our coaches. They picked up on that quickly. Like, hey, man, we got to play. This group needs to play, figure out our style, develop really fast clocks on the field, but at the same time being slow and control. And so, yeah, I thought it was a productive fall, and we have a long way to go.
You've got an interesting blend here when you talk about year one and the guys, like you mentioned, several guys back that have been here a long time. Cade DuPont, Jake Haggard, Adam Tubbs, the guys that kind of come to mind as far as those that have been here for quite a while anyway. And then there's others that have been here too. When you took this thing over and you go into that process of, trying to re-recruit those guys, the guys you wanted to hang on to, just and now you've gone through a fall with them. How was the buy-in process for guys like that and getting them to go to what you want to do and trying to turn this thing the right way?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I really did. We don't talk much about the past. We just kind of focus on how it was going to be with this staff and what we were going to do. I remember Kay DuPont when I was an assistant at Nicholls State University. And just kind of he came to some camps and we were in there a little bit recruiting wise. But the veteran players. Tubbs. I always make the joke he's got Northeast Louisiana Indian gear in his locker. He's been here so long, but they've been great. The transition's been great. It's fine. The biggest thing is they're worried about, taking care of this group. And, they do offer a little bit different perspective, I think, to like our freshman group and our new players, just maybe being able to talk about some stuff that's different. But, the most important thing is, the clubhouse right now and how we're going about it. And they've responded well. Probably a little bit different in the way we practice. We don't spend a whole lot of time, real long practice, so we're in and out really quickly, really efficiently. I believe in keeping these guys fresh, and we'll take a day off of the field to have really good lifts and training. And I want to keep these guys fresh and physical. So it's been good.
Talking with baseball coach Ford Pemberton, this group, as you said, you go in and bring in some 4-year transfer guys, some JUCO guys, some high school guys, and the newcomers, the guys that are coming here too, that are they're new to you, they're new to all of us too here at ULM. Just what stood out about the group and what they add to what was returning from last year's club.
Yeah, well, I think a guy that stood out right away was Micah Dean, a
Mm.
transfer from Kansas State. Played some center field for them, and then went off to summer ball. And it kind of caught my attention how he was playing in the middle of the field on the dirt. And so when he got here, we put him at shortstop. Him and Major and Sutton Lewis, another transfer from Louisiana Tech, local kid. Went to Neville High School, but Micah Dean is really just a great set of tools. Can really run, effortless bat speed. Has just had a really good day at shortstop yesterday with his glove, and his speed kind of plays to what we want to do offensively. In terms of having all the tools in the lineup, that somewhere in the lineup, he really brings that speed factor to the game. And so he has to understand his role. As far as moving the baseball, especially with runners on, being really good with two strikes. Logan Duffy, a left-handed hitter from Pitt, that'll be in corner outfielder, bring some physicality. Is just he does some things in BP that can really turn your head, and it's just he's looking for the consistency of it. Davis Mosey, another long athletic body, a transfer from Wichita State. I mentioned Sutton Lewis. Just has really good juice in the box, and just continue to learn how to play at the Division I level. Has been really good in learning in that regard. And then on the mound, you have J.C. Dermody, another Wichita State transfer, lefty on the mound. I really like the way that he controls the running game and fills up the zone and can give different looks. A tough matchup for left-handed hitters. Local kid, Sam Marsh, junior college transfer, has come in and just really good arm talent. Again, finding the consistency on how to do it every day. So I think fans can get excited about the transfer, guys on the roster and what they bring to the table. And those guys love it here. Guys are in and out of my office all the time, just talking about the community and the school. They really enjoy their time here and how we're doing things. And so it's been good for the transfer. I was really pleased with, once we got this job in June, the ability to go out and get a transfer player from two of them from Power Four conferences. And so it might be a niche, might not be. We'll see as we get going forward. But I really like those guys that have made their way on the campus and have shown that they can really play.
As far as when you get out on the field here in a month, what is it's going to be obviously a work in progress, I'm sure, as it always is, but what's the ideal vision for how this team, when you talk about offensively and what you want to do, what's the ideal vision there?
Yeah, I just want to be able to apply pressure. Like this game, we have to understand how to win different games. On Friday night, we might have to win a 3-2 game. And then the next day, it's a slugfest. And so they've done a really good job at understanding that and playing fast how we want to play. It's just the game's going to ask you to do something differently each time. And so I just want to be able to win all situations, a sloppy game with errors and just, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be, we have to understand how to win those games. And so I really just I really want a team that plays to a standard, not the scoreboard. Each pitch has a life of its own, and just, there's no circumstances, not affected by anything that's good, not affected by anything that's bad. Just really play to a standard and play fast, physical, and relentless. Hard 90s, sliding in hard and physical, fast defense, communicating the game, fast tempo and presence on the mound, really controlling the box. That's the identity that we talk about every single day. And then when, just understanding what the game is asking us to do each time, the just understanding situations of the game and winning those moments and understanding that. And so, we stress each day how to teach the players to recognize those moments, and we go at it. We just got to keep stacking the good ones.
You mentioned I love hearing fast tempo on the mound. I like that as a radio broadcaster. But when you talk about the mound, and we've seen it to the major league level, we've seen it here around the Sun Belt with different teams that some teams have guys that go 5, 6, 7 innings to start, and then you turn to that pen. You've seen other teams that go, they want to throw a guy, 2 or 3 innings, and then they're on to the next guy, and it's kind of a team approach. How do you envision the pitching staff going, and is it more of a traditional look, or is it more analytical type stuff, or a mix, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, we'll just have to see as we get
Mm.
going. These are some very important, obviously, but these preseason inter squads, guys are built up, and we're going to be able to go long and really establish. We have an idea of roles, but we can kind of establish and see exactly what we want to do. Because it's our job to put these guys in situations where they can thrive. And so, understanding who's a guy that can get in there and get 3 outs and get out. Who's the guy that can get in there and get you 6 and get out. Who's a guy that can go. In terms of the bullpen, one time through, and then get him out, putting him in good situations, building up our starters, having different looks are really, Coach Cox has done a tremendous job on the pitching side of things. I can see an identity building. We're not there yet, but I can see an identity building of what we want to be and how we want to attack this. And just, you're in control of the game when you're on defense. That's the different thing about baseball. You're controlling, you have the ball. And so it's, I really like where we are in terms of that. I want to flood the strike zone. I want to dominate the first 3 pitches, invite contact early and be ready to go. But the biggest thing, the message that we sent in the fall that I thought we applied in the 2, fall exhibitions was attacking hitters. There wasn't a lot of walks. We were going at guys. There were some guys that we were working just to get into the zone. Like, let's get into the zone and attack. And if you get touched up for an outing, I don't care. Like, that's, if you're getting touched up, you're over the heart of the plate right now, and we can work off of that in different shapes, whatever it may be. So, Brady Cox is really good at what he does, and I can see those guys evolving, one day at a time to what we're trying to get to.
I wanted to bring up your coaching staff too, and you mentioned Brady Cox, your pitching coach. Obviously, he's played in this league when UTA was in this league, and he knows what Sunbelt baseball is all about. I'm sure that helps. And Coach Lartigue's been around this thing, and Coach Schatzberger is a head coach. You mentioned him earlier, and just the value of him having been a head coach, and how he can counsel you a little bit and do that, and then to retain Coach Belanger as well, and bring him into that general manager role. Just when you built this staff, just how has it come together, and just how have you guys as a group come together through the fall and to where you are now?
Yeah, when listen, when we were trying to put this thing, first off, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than when you're a head coach and you're trying to build a staff and get guys. You're on an island there for a little bit. But I thought we moved quickly. I was looking for guys that are professional, loyal. You have won before. Coach Lartigue's won a national championship. He's on the staff at Ole Miss. Brady Cox has been in postseason baseball. 2 of the last 3 years, won the league. The only team to beat LSU in the postseason last year. Coach Schatz was at TCU. Helped build a team that went to Omaha. Then he was at Houston, a team that was in he's got 9 or 10 championship rings sitting on his desk. It's just, he's been around winning baseball. Coach Ben McGinnis, who's our strength and conditioning coach, probably the most important guy here right now. Our guys they're physical, they're healthy. His attention to detail in the weight room is really good. Guys really respect it. There's no eyewash going on. It's traditional lifts, and it's the focus of what he puts into the guys of how he wants them moving around. And so it's a staff that really gets along. We're professional. We can get in a room and people can speak their mind, and it's when we're here, we're working. We're not up here more or later than anyone else. We're here and we're efficient. I'm really proud of those guys. They represent our program well. ULM should be proud to have these guys. They should be proud, to have a former head coach on staff that was, these guys are going to represent ULM the right way. And so our players really respect them. They can really evaluate, they can really teach. They're really good at identifying how, our guys learn. If we have, it's not all the same. This
Hmm.
guy's going to learn this way. This guy's going to learn by doing this in the cage over and over and over. This guy's going to learn by watching film, a big leaguer hit or whatever it may be, and then apply the movement. They've done an exceptional job of figuring out what stimulates our players, and I think that makes a really good coach. And so, we're very lucky to have them. We got to keep these guys here. And the biggest thing, we've all moved in, bought a house. They love the Monroe community. They've met a lot of people. Our wives are working and happy, and our kids are in school. And so it's a really healthy coach's room right now. And I couldn't be more proud to have them here.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And, you look at the next month here as we sit a month out from that season opener with Central Arkansas. You're into official practices now. Just what's the vision for the next month? How does the next month need to go to get this thing ready for what's coming February 13th?
Yeah, well, I think that's my job to keep these guys organized. I want them to know what they're doing at practice today. We sent the plan out last night. If there's anything they need to review, they have time to do it and be ready to go. But that's my job to keep these guys organized, line out the day, line out the week. We kind of look up, we'll schedule a week at a time of what we need to do and understand when BP starts, our prep work leading up to inter squads, and what all we need to do. But it's I've mentioned it over and over.
Mhm.
It's stacking really good days, and it's understanding, not coaching out of a textbook. When I see the guys and their legs look tired, like they need an off day the next day, and that wasn't planned, we've got to be able to adjust. Hey, we're going to change tomorrow. Let's let them catch their breath. Let's get a really good lift. Let's get in the training room. Let's keep them fresh. I just think the players really appreciate organization. That starts with me. I have to keep myself organized. We have to get our coaches organized. It keeps the players organized, and making sure our weight room, the nutrition is stocked and clean and ready to go. And, when recruits are coming in and out of town, like this all has to be, we have to be professional. And so, to answer your question, just
Mhm.
one day at a time, one day, understanding exactly what we have to do. I want an intelligent, organized, hardworking team. And that's all we can control right now is how we're going about our work and our business and improving one day at a time. We're installing a camera system that's going in right now, but right now we still have it's charging over there on my wall, the old Panasonic. We filmed everything yesterday in practice, and then Coach Schatz and I were here reviewing the infield play yesterday, and a couple of adjustments we need to make with some guys, and we have to apply it today, and
Mhm.
they have to be able to apply that teaching. All right, and then now we move on. What can we do now? What can we get better? And so, this is we just don't look ahead, Mike. We just
Yeah.
gotta, we take care of exactly what we're doing today and just trying to stay as process oriented as we can.
Coach, thanks for the time. Best of luck here over the next month, and looking forward to seeing you guys at the Lou here very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.